Hey guys, I want to introduce you today to Michelle Bennett of Michelle Bennett Designs. She is an interior designer. She helps clients take a lot of what they currently have in their house and make it fun and funky or put new pieces in. I'm going to let her talk to you all about that. And she's super spicy and fun and transparent and also does some roller derby. So I think you're really going to like her. So Michelle, I want to kick this off to you. Tell us what's going on. What are you doing out there in the world? Love that you have a woman-owned business, and I want to hear all about it.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very pumped to be here. And thank you for that amazing intro. I love it. I like that I'm spicy. Yeah, so I am a newish. I feel like I can't call myself a newbie anymore, but it's still, everything just moves so fast that it still feels like I'm so new at it all. But I'm a new interior decorator and I'm based in Toronto. But this is all very new to me. So I started my business. It was, okay, you know what? I'm gonna backtrack. So I'm a trained graphic designer. Okay. So kind of growing up, the only thing I was ever really good at was art. And it kind of got to the point where I didn't know what to do with that. So I knew my father is actually a professional artist. So my whole life, I saw him, and he was self-employed. So I saw kind of the ups and downs of that kind of world. So it was always, I remember very vividly always saying, like, I will never do that. Like, I will never do that. I will never work for myself. I will never be an artist. And then here I am. I'm basically an artist. But so I didn't really know what to do with all that. And, when I was trying to figure out what to do, kind of, it's time to go to college. It's time to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. I'd recently met my brother's girlfriend at the time, now wife, so my sister-in-law, and she was going to school for graphic design. And I thought, well, I guess that's what I could do. So that's what I did. And so I obviously graduated. I got a job. I did that for a large franchise, weight loss franchise here in Canada. I'm Canadian. I already said that though. But anyway, so I did that for a bit. And what happened kind of organically within the company was I always had really amazing bosses who really kind of believed in me and kind of lifted me up a lot. And I'm somebody who struggles with confidence a lot. So it was always really amazing to have like people like that in my corner. But I started to kind of go up the ladder a little bit. So I became like the marketing supervisor, and I had 3 people reporting to me. Then from there, I became the marketing manager, and so on and so forth, until eventually that company filed for bankruptcy protection. I lost my job. But then I got an old boss who was the old CEO of that company hired me to be director of marketing for a massage therapy franchise that is in Canada. So I did that, and it was a very big stretch for me because I had never run a department on my own. So there was always kind of somebody above me. And, for the first year, so we're looking at about like 3 or 4 years ago. That's when kind of all this came to a head. So I was in marketing for about 15 years because I was never passionate about the graphic design. Just did not light me up at all. I mean, I was decent at it, and it's been helpful for me now, but just didn't like it. But anyway, so fast forward to 3 years ago, I'm doing this role. I'm dealing with franchisees. It all goes really well for the first year, and then just anxiety sets in. The last 6 months I was there, every day I would be crying at home. Like, I wasn't sleeping at night. I was having panic attacks at work. I was freaking out. I was unraveling. So, and it was funny because I would tell my boyfriend, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job. And then 6 months later, I lost my job. So I pretty much manifested that. But it was amazing. It was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. So literally it was November 2nd, 2015. I lose my job. I cry that day, of course, because I'm embarrassed. I'm not sad, but I'm embarrassed. And I decide, like, probably 2 days later, well, working for the man is not an option for me. So I might as well just start a business. And I decided it was time to pursue my passion, which I kind of realized when I bought a condo, how much I loved it. And then that's kind of how I got here.
Awesome. I love that you said I manifested losing my job. And I knew you were leading into that just because I could tell, because I've done it so many times. And I always am amazed at the power of our words, and that I feel like some of it might be intuition, because clearly the company was headed for disaster and you could feel that that was happening. But I feel like I've lost jobs, gotten fired from jobs, and lost clients because I've verbally said, we're going to lose him, we're going to lose him. And then that fear kind of takes over. And then all of a sudden you look up and, well, of course it happens. Like you put your order in with the universe, of course it's going to deliver what you're asking for.
It's so true. And it's funny because it's not funny, but that whole, like the last 6 months, the thing was, and actually this company did not file, like I legit got canned and replaced. Like it wasn't anything to do with anything. That second one, it was not a good fit. It was bad for me. It was bad for them. But it was funny because it drove me to therapy, because I had a panic attack at work, and I called an old boss who was a mentor of mine, and she was like, I think you should talk to someone and deal with this. So I did, and just after like kind of working with her, my therapist at the time, like for a while, she actually was telling me that because you talk about intuition, and my body, she was like, you're a very intuitive person, and for you, your intuition manifests into anxiety. So when you're somewhere and when you're doing something that is not right for you, your intuition translates that into anxiety. So so the fact that I lost my job was kind of like, I always say it's like the universe intervened and said, like, I probably was never going to make that decision on my own. So it kind of just, the universe pushed me along, because it had been my 5-year plan. Like I was like, yep, I'm going to do this. In 5 years from now, I'm going to really pursue my passion of design, decorating. And, but the universe was like, no, it's time for you to do this now. So.
And how many people get up every day for their entire life to go work at a job that they hate? And like, I hate to even use the word hate, because you can feel the negativeness of it, but they get up and are like, I effing hate my job and I do not want to show up. And the fact that you, A, recognized it, B, that your body told you this is not working for you any longer, and that C, you've turned that around into a place that is really powerful and incredible, and look what you're doing today. So I think that's a great springboard. Tell us, what are you doing now? And maybe even, how's your body a little bit different? Are you feeling really excited about getting up every day? Are you enjoying not having to get up to an alarm clock? What is that like when you finally decide to leave the corporate world? And then I would also want to ask you, I know this is a lot of questions, but I'd also want to ask you, financially, has it paid off for you to leave? And are you feeling more abundant than you ever have before?
Okay, I have so many things to say. This is a topic that I like. I'm very passionate about it, and I find that I have to reel myself in sometimes, because sometimes people don't want to hear all this.
Don't reel it in, because that's what this is all about. Like, that's what my platform's based off of. Yeah. Creating the life and the reality of your dreams, and you've done it, and we want to hear about it. So tell us about it.
Yeah, so it's nice because I can say it and people aren't like, shut up. But no, so I will say that financially, full disclosure, I want to be honest and authentic. I did get a very killer severance. So I did have 6 months severance, which really helped me get my feet off the ground, because it's not even a saying, but basically, I'm in Toronto, so it's expensive to live in Toronto, and I couldn't have done this on just one salary for sure. So I did have to get my butt in gear and get moving. But it's so weird. My whole life, I've always struggled with confidence. Confidence is like this big thing that has loomed over me. It's been a struggle in my personal life, in business, and in my corporate life. And and I've had some very intense conversations about this with a friend who I feel like is kind of going through this right now. I feel like I don't know, there's something about women. The older we get, I started to notice how my confidence issues started to become more problematic the higher I got in a company, because it just became more painfully obvious to me, and it just became more of a problem and an issue, and paralyzing almost. And even though I started this business where I realistically didn't have any school, like I started an online course, I made the decision not to finish and just I needed to get going and start my business. And it's, for some crazy reason, I have more confidence than I've ever had doing something where I technically don't have the experience, excuse me, or school to back it up. And I think there's a lot to be said for, doing what you're supposed to be doing and all the additional benefits that kind of come along with that. That being said, of course, like I still have confidence issues, but it's like a different level. It's like, it's more of a healthy amount now as opposed to like a toxic, paralyzing amount. But I do feel like it's also kind of rolled into my personal life and how I interact with people and the confidence I have to stand up for myself, and to be who I am. So you were saying like you watched some of the videos that I posted on my I don't know where it was, but wherever you watched a video. And when I first started doing that, like I did that because I have a marketing background. I get it. I know the things I should be doing to get visibility. And it was really hard to do that. And it was really embarrassing to do all that. But this really odd thing happened when I started to do it. It's like, I feel weird saying it because it feels like something you shouldn't say, but I started to like watch and edit my videos and like myself more. So it's like, I get emotional, but it's like, it's just
not so bad to look at. Like I sound pretty.
No, it's not even that. It's like, it's for me, it's like a personality. I'm like, you know what? Like it's me being me where I felt like, and I want to make that very clear because if I were to pick apart my double chin, my this, it's me. It's more personality based. Like me being able to say, finally, just feel like I can be me and embrace me. And because I also got like great feedback, like your videos are really you, and that's kind of what it was all about too, right? So it was just really nice to be able to do like something that was so true to myself, and it only made me feel more confident about being myself. And like as a 38-year-old woman, it's really important to kind of stand in your own, on your own 2 feet and really just believe, like just be who you are. Like I'm too old to not be who I am. You know what I mean? Amen. But yeah, so you had a whole bunch of other questions in there that I probably didn't answer, but I think you asked me a question about like financially, where I'm kind of at. So, it's obviously like a slow kind of climb, but I will say like, it's funny that since I've started my business, what I thought, what I believed to be possible versus what I believed to be possible in my corporate world. Now, I'm not there yet. I was making 6 digits when I left corporate, and I never thought I'd be able to make that again anywhere else. That was kind of like what I was feeding myself. And now I'm like creeping up on getting close to that. And I know that if I do the right things and continue to, continue to strive and push myself, I know that I can double what I was making in corporate, even triple. And I mean, I've set some very lofty goals, which exceed my corporate goals when I left for this year. It's been a hard couple months because I also upped my standards of the projects that I want to work with, which makes it a lot harder. So now I'm not just accepting whatever kind of comes my way, but it's kind of like opened up my world. Like I can make as much money as I want to make. I have that power.
Yes. Completely agree with you. Okay, so 2 things I wanted to come back to you at. I counted the number of times you said struggled with confidence, and it was like 5. Yeah. So clearly, like that's still something that you're struggling with. And so I wanted to flip something for you. So one thing that I've learned is if you say, what if, like ask yourself a what if statement. What if I had all the confidence in the world? What if I am a badass businesswoman? Mm-hmm. What if I do quadruple my business in the next 24 months? What if? That it kind of almost takes what you're feeling internally and like almost like I want to say expulse. I don't even know if that's a word. It like pushes it out. You can't feel it anymore. You can't feel like, I just don't have any confidence when you're like, what if I'm a badass and my hair looks amazing today, Yeah,
no, I love that very much. I won't lie. Mindset, internal, like that internal dialogue thing is something that I know I have a lot of work to. It's kind of like, yes, I've improved the confidence front, but there's still a long way to go. And there's still a lot of inner dialogue that I need to fix, like negative self-talk that I need to stop doing. So I love that. And I was going to write it down, but I'm just going to remember because I don't want to write it down now, but I'm going to do that for sure. I love it. I love that.
If, and then you make it up. What if
Yeah.
I'm a millionaire tomorrow?
Yeah.
When I worked at Walmart home office corporate for 7 years. And I remember every time I'd climb the ladder, I'd get significant raises, but man, I thought I was like rolling in dough. And I think I was making like $60,000 when I left.
Yeah.
So I went to go work for a supplier and like tripled that. And then from there did $500,000 last year. $500,000 in my own business all by myself with the team that I created, and hope to double or triple that this year. Yeah. And it's amazing when you finally like get out of your way and get out of the corporate world and say, I can do anything I want to do. Why am I limiting myself by saying I can only make 6 digits? Why not?
I know.
Why not 7? Right?
I've listened to your podcast and I've heard you say that, and like, it's totally people like you that are inspiring. Like, I think, have you heard of the 90-day year?
90-day year?
Yeah, it's Todd Herman. It's like this guru guy. And I signed up for his program. And it's basically the whole concept behind it is that you accomplish more in 90 days than you would accomplish in a year. And a lot of the work that I did very early in this program was really amazing. I had also started a meditation course, a mindfulness course. So in Canada, we have like, health benefits, and it was actually covered by, like this 12-week amazing program was covered by our health benefits. So totally free. But I think it was combined with that, I just got a lot of clarity. But he talks about, breaking the 1 minute mile or the 4 minute mile. See, okay, my facts aren't straight, but the whole point being that, for a long time, people said you couldn't break the 1 minute mile, whatever. You couldn't do it in a minute. And then someone did it. And then all of a sudden, everybody's like, oh, okay. And then it starts happening, right? So I follow, like, you listen to people like you who tell your story about like what you were making in corporate and what was possible. I follow a lot of interior design kind of mentor type people, and I've had conversations with them. And they have, this one in particular who I just adore, and she like has my heart. But she and I had a conversation, and she told me, as a solo, like she's been in business 10 years, what she did by herself in 1 month. And it was just like, okay, whoa, I'm clearly playing way too small here. Like, I need to realize that I am worth more. I can make more. And I don't have to assume like I have to be this kind of designer or I'm not good enough. Like, I can do that. So it's amazing to be able to listen and have these podcasts like yours to listen to help people like open their minds like that.
Thank you. Like, other than my what if statement, the statement for this year that I use every day is why not? Why not?
Oh,
why can't I make $1 million in a year? Why not? There's two different books that really impacted me. I love yours, and I'd love for you afterwards to send me the link so that I can put it in the notes if anybody's interested. I started listening to Tim Ferriss, and he has a book called The 4-Day Work Week. No, the 4-hour work week. He literally works like 4 hours a week, and all of his business is automated. It's all amazing. Well, I'm like, I can't really do that in my business, so I need something a little bit more realistic. And then I read Sage Levine's Women Rocking Business. And she teaches a 4-day work week. So basically you work 20 days a month. And if you look at your calendar, you take Friday and you just draw a big old line through Friday. Fridays are always off days. And those are the days where I get my nails done, I get my hair done, I get massages, I do body work, I go do yoga or whatever. Like, that's my day. And then every weekend, of course, you just mark it off. And I'm really bad about getting on the weekend and going, I'm going to make up, I'm going to get ahead, and so instead she's like, try to flip that. And if you want to work, do planning, do strategy, do dreaming, do vacations, like take a vacation every quarter.
Yeah.
And so I took my 2018 this year, and I said, okay, I want to go on one vacation every quarter. And before I planned any work goals or strategy goals, it was like, I'm mapping out my life. and what I want for my family. And I want to go to, Florida this many times, and I want to go back to Hawaii. And then I went back in after I planned my year for my personal life and then said, okay, when am I going to launch stuff? And I'm going to launch it around the times that I'm not vacationing or having fun or having my Fridays off or going to the beach.
Yeah.
And I feel pretty successful Q1. I've managed to do that, and I've taken as many Fridays as I can off, even though I've merged in Q1 with another company. So it's been a little bit crazy. But I do think that that's the answer. And it's not work more or work harder. It's just work smarter.
It's so true. And I mean, if I'm being honest, I work a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel guilty for not working. Like, I should be hustling harder. I should be doing this harder. Like Gary Vee says, you gotta hustle.
And I think Gary Vee is wrong. And I will stand right here today and say that. And especially as women and as mothers and as the matriarchs of families, we've got too much shit going on to be working our butts off all day long. Yeah. And then wearing it like a badge. Have you noticed? He kind of wears it as a badge, you got to hustle and grind.
I know. It's so true. And I totally agree. And for me this year, it was my goal. Well, what I realized last year was I had too many clients. And it was because I wasn't charging enough. Yeah. I was underestimating how many hours because I do more or less flat fees. And one person, this is off topic a little bit. Have you heard of Jonathan Stark? So I started listening to a podcast from him called Ditching Hourly.
Okay.
The whole idea behind, I assume you have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to your podcast, but it's all about value pricing, not even like flat fees. And it's very geared to software-based businesses, but there's always nuggets, right? But anyways, I was charging way too little, which was why I was closing so many sales, right? And it was too much. I was really feeling like I wasn't delivering good service for the clients that I had, because I was like, I got to pay my bills. I need to take on another client. And the next thing you know, I'm back to feeling super anxious and not sleeping at night because I've just bitten off more than I could chew. So very happy to say that I've upped my rate and, I've gotten way more no's as a result.
But that's okay.
It has been hard. But I'm happy because it's this person clearly, cannot afford what it's going to cost to have me really manage this project. And I just need to find the people that can.
I love that. You figured out who your ideal client is and then kind of push through that scarcity mentality of, I've got to have more. How am I going to pay the bills? And I felt like I went through the same thing that you did last year. I went through at the beginning of 2017 going I'm a badass businesswoman. I can bring in as many clients as I want. Well, then you're like, oh crap, now what am I going to do with all of them?
Yeah.
And so I went through that same scarcity, your brain just tells you, you got to get more, you got to get more. You need the extra $500 or whatever it is that you're charging. That's nothing. Yeah. And then about I would say maybe 3/4 of the year, once we got through that and we started looking at Q4, and I'm in retail. So, Q4 is your life depends on Q4. Your numbers and your clients' numbers depend on holiday. And I started thinning the herd, and I started just going, I don't think they're a good fit, or I don't think they're a good fit, or I don't think we're a good fit for them, or they're not bringing in any money. I just can't afford it. And I went back to each one of my clients that were current clients, and I said, we have to start a minimum engagement fee every month. And I'm sorry, but I have to pay people, and they have to feed their families. And if you can't pay that, we're not the good fit for you. And I lost maybe 10 or 20% of them. And then once we did the minimum engagement fee, that was really awesome and helped then. And then our Q4 was amazing because we focused on the best of the best clients, poured all of our time and energy into it. We helped one client go from $30,000 a month to $1 million in 3.5 months for Christmas.
Wow. That's amazing.
It was. But I love your mentality, and I think it's so important to talk about that having quantity is not better than having quality, and that you'll make more when you focus on the best of the best.
I learned that the hard way for sure. And I mean, I'm not going to pretend it's an easy mentality, because there's, my January, February this year, I still had got projects that are kind of nearing the end, or I already had undercharged, so I'm dealing with that mess that I created for myself. But when I finally decided no, I need to up my hourly rate, and those numbers that I put together on a proposal that make me want to puke in my mouth, because there's like, in my head, I'm going, they're never gonna. And I had a sales coach tell me once, like, you have to present these proposals in person. So I call like this more or less. But, and I mean, I like doing it because I feel like if I can't say that number to your face, I shouldn't be saying that number on paper at all. But it's not a fun time at all. And I got to know the first 2 times, but realistically, like, it hurt, and it was hard on the old confidence, but it needed to happen because I ended up getting a really great client, which I just started with. It's the biggest project I've had to date, not in size or scope, but in my service fees. So it's really amazing on that front, because now I can do the best work that I can and really deliver. And now obviously the goal is to get more clients like that, and smaller projects that can fill in gaps here and there. Mm-hmm. But it's just funny how like where I started to where I am now, like the evolution of what you think your business is going to be versus what it ends up being. And then when you think you have it figured out, you're like, oh God, no, I got to change this. And
that is such a good lesson too. And I think it's really important to listen to the people that are actually become your clients, or the people that are actually magnetized and kind of drawn to you. Earlier this year, we launched Her Soulful Business, which was the name of my podcast, the name of my website. I was going to do all the stuff on manifestation courses and all about creating life, your dreams, and women. And all of a sudden, I realized all these men are drawn to me. Like, I'm having coffee after like men sobbing, like, help me get out of my job. I hate my life. And I'm like, this is not who I wanted to talk to. Like, where are the women?
Yeah.
And I think that's a big problem, at least in my sphere. There's not a lot of women in the space that I want to go coach to.
Yeah.
So we made a quick pivot, and we stopped having everything woman focused, and we pivoted, and now it's just called Soulful Business, and we're going to have men that we interview. We've got a couple lined up in the next few weeks. So that was a big pivot. And then outside of that, I wanted to do these manifestation courses. Do what?
Was that me?
No, I don't know. I wanted to do these manifestation courses, and then realized quickly, if I really want to make big money, where I don't have to necessarily bust my butt all day long and kind of make money while I'm sleeping, I need to cater to the people in my life that are drawn to me, and the ones that are really paying attention on LinkedIn. And it was all Walmart and Amazon people. So then I ended up just pivoting from the manifestation course to creating coursework that's all about doing business with Walmart, helping create a roadmap, and then how to do business with Amazon, create that roadmap, and more of a teaching, training, speaking thing than let's talk about your feeling. And I love manifestation, and I want to do courses on that.
I do.
But we had to pivot to go, well, what's the most income producing that will allow us to step away from the other things? Yeah. And then we can go back later on down the road and really do the fun, squishy stuff that we want to do.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. And it was the same thing for me. I'm like, I want these big projects, but also there's a balance of, I need to be able to pay my bills also. So how do I make it work where I'm not slashing my prices to work with people that don't have the budget? So, I came up with like a Q&A call, 1 hour Q&A call, in and out. I can do just a consultation, in and out. I can do a design plan for you, in and out. I don't source any furniture. It allows me to kind of deliver something to a client that doesn't meet my budget, because the reality is that's the inquiries that I often get. And until I crack the code of how to get in front of people with more money, I just got to try to make it work, because I still got to pay my bills.
I love that.
Mortgage.
Can you talk to me? Do you still have an online course?
Do I still have an online course? So, okay, I don't really have an online course, but I did last week. I just launched a free email course.
That's the one I watched the video on.
Yeah, so that course I built with the idea that it gets people into my funnel. And the idea behind that is not for big projects. So, there's a lot of assumptions I'm making. I literally just launched it, so nobody's even gotten to the end of it yet. But so it's 6 days of my 6 steps to what you do before you do any decorating in your home. So before you even think about buying furniture, this is what you need to do to avoid any costly mistakes, buying furniture that's too big, too small, whatever. And it's more or less the steps that I take with any of my projects, whether it be a client or even in my own home. And then day 7, it'll be just kind of, what do you do now? Well, now you have the tools to do it on your own, or schedule a discovery call with me and we can see how we can work together. If you're local, if you're not local, maybe we can do like a Q&A call on the phone. So it's kind of like a play for those shorter, smaller, in and out type projects, I guess you can call it, where I don't know like how it's going to play out, but it's also just to build up my email list, because I just feel like I've kind of put a refocus on, without it taking away from client focus. I feel like I need to continue to work on an audience for, I don't know what purpose yet, but I just know having an audience is a good thing. Right. Whether I want to, I just know it's a good thing, and I don't know why yet. But
are you doing an email newsletter yet?
I do, yeah. So I try to blog monthly, and I try to send a newsletter at least once a month. I was trying to do that weekly at one point. It was kind of at the point where you have all these, like, this is what I should do. I should do this. I should be on all the socials. And then you just start to do it all kind of crappy. And so I really had to tell myself, you need to pick some core things and try to do those really well. And don't try to do everything. Pick what makes sense based on your goals for the year and try to do that. And even like for me, I'm a perfectionist. I don't know if other people deal with this like I do, but I know that it can be a real problem. So even with the email course, that was the fastest I've ever done anything, because I wanted to do an email course or course of some sort for free. And I kept thinking it has to have a video. It has to be really well polished. And I thought, you know what? No. I'm going to send a text-based course that people can just read. And if it gets high demand and if it seems like people want it, then I can improve it over time and build it out. And maybe that can lead into like actual paid courses. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself, and I'm not going to put more effort into something without knowing whether it's worthwhile. So that's definitely something I've learned over the last 2 years.
I love that. I'm just thinking through as you're talking about all this, it sounds like you need a content developer, content manager. And up until last January, I was a solopreneur. I had nobody else on my team, nobody else helping me. And when I finally started to hire people, my business exploded. And I finally realized I've been holding myself back. As a CEO that's like a solopreneur, you're like, okay, I've got to be the accountant hat and for my clients, and then I've got to do this all the social media, and then I've got to be my own assistant and answer all the emails and help answer every single question. And then I've got to actually do the work. And you realize nobody can humanly do all of that.
No.
So it sounds like soon, maybe that would be a great hire for you, is a content developer / personal assistant / go-getter of lunch, or
yeah, first. Okay. So like the assistant thing is for sure high up on the list, because, and so like I was saying, it had been a very slow intro to the year for me as far as like new client base. But I think it was 2 months last year, I actually hired an assistant, AKA my partner's cousin, because she was unemployed at the time. And it was for me a test, and it was actually really good. And ideally I need to do that at some point when I'm, bringing in more consistent money. But because part of what I have to do is return stuff to retailers, like that is not good use of my time. So for her, I was getting her to, because it would take about 5 hours when it was all said and done. And I would do 5 hours a week with her. She would come and she would pick up all the stuff, return it all, and it was all taken care of. I do have her come for certain things here and there, but no, an assistant is kind of like high up on the old list, because there's just some things that are like, going to pick up something for a client is just not good use of my time.
No, not when you could be doing somebody's house or finding new clients.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I agree. And it's a scary thing. And I'm hoping to make that happen more consistently at some point this year. When projects are kind of flowing more plentifully.
So speaking of projects flowing and getting you more work, are you looking for work that's just local to you so that you can show up and do your thing, or do you do things virtually?
So my core is definitely one-on-one. So the core of what I offer is full service. So, I would help clients in Toronto or the GTA basically come up with a design concept, select all the furniture, purchase the furniture, work with any construction, because I am a decorator, so I'm not a designer. And basically what that means is I don't deal with renovations. I deal with like paint and small cosmetic changes like built-in stuff. So that's really the core. And then at the end of it, it's kind of a three-phase approach. Finishing touches, so installation of the furniture, which means the furniture all kind of comes on the same day, and the styling happens. So that's kind of like the top tier. That's like the core. Then I do a bit of technically like virtual work, which can be just design only, where I don't source furniture, but you can give me your floor plan measurements and I come up with a floor plan. I give you a mood board to show you directionally kind of what you're looking for and how to bring that space together. Elevation drawing, so I tell you where your art should go, where your drapery should go, and then so that's kind of like tier 2. And then the third tier would just be I do 1 hour Q&A calls. So that is obviously it can happen anywhere around the world, where a client could do exactly what we're doing now. They would have a room that they could ask me questions, and I would just verbally give you advice on that.
Awesome. I love that. Okay, then I think this is a great segue to the end of our podcast. And I think you need to tell people, how can they get a hold of you? I love that you're like the virtual interior decorator, which I love, because we could literally walk you around with our laptops and be like, does this go together? Like, does my sofa look big enough for this space? Like, what should I do? Or I love that you can actually send designs and then say, and I have it in mind, like the greatest sofa on Jocelyn, Maine that you should buy, and it's blue, and put it here. And yeah. So how can people get a hold of you and say either, I love your style inspiration, by the way, on Instagram. So I think people are going to love following you on Instagram and really get inspired on how to make some really beautiful rooms in their homes. And then from there, how to get a hold of you.
Okay. So the first thing is, let's just say somebody's thinking about doing something on their own and they think that they might be able to benefit from the course I just put together. So you can get that and sign up for that at michellebennett.com/free course. So again, that's just a 6-day email course. It takes you through the steps for everything you need to do before you even think about buying furniture for your house. Okay. So that's number one. But basically, yeah, if you want to learn more about me or my services, you can go to michellebennett.com. And the great thing is I have like a little pop-up if you're thinking you don't know, you can see all the services I offer, but if you're thinking you're not sure of the best way we can work together, you can schedule a free discovery call, and from there we can hop on a call and talk about what it is that you're struggling with, what your goals are, what your budget is, and I can help them figure out kind of what the next best step is. And like you said, if you follow me on Instagram, that's where I post. I do post my projects on there, but there's also a ton of inspiration. And that's michellebennett.design. And then on my Facebook, which is also michellebennett.design, it's that's kind of where there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So I like to get really raw. It's very unedited. I do a lot of Facebook lives. I like to do befores, like when I'm actually going into a client's house where I've purchased all the accessories, which is normally like a room full of bags, and then the before, and then also like you can actually go back and see a lot of these where I show you kind of where the room started by the time I was in that phase, and then what it looks like after. And then I also try to do a lot of, offer a lot of tips. And then lastly, I do have a Facebook group as well that you can find if you go on to my business page. So yeah, lots of great ways that I can connect.
Thank you for all the links. And Bennett is Binnette for anybody looking for her. Michelle spelled normally, Binnette.design. Thank you so much for spending this much time with us. I feel like we got so much valuable information from you leaving the corporate world to what it's like now today in your business, and kind of the ups and downs of when to charge more and when to kind of weed out your client list and how to up your game as a businesswoman, and then leading us to where we just ended, which is how to go hang out with you. I think you have a great personality. It's super fun. This was a fun interview. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you.